Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut is a brightly coloured but very dark, twisted thriller. There's also a new Alien movie out. I question why, but it's apparently quite good. We have some desert island themed games in honour of Blink Twice, all that and more, of course, on today's episode. Welcome back to the madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Madness,
Hello.
Jeannine, we like it.
Yes, we love the madness. Some fun things to talk about today, so I'm excited to dive into it.
Yes, it's a movie review special almost today, isn't it? Because there's going to be quite a bit of that going on
Yeah.
relatively recent movies. I mean, do we just get straight into it? I don't think there needs
Yeah.
to be any more preamble. Apart from the intro, obviously, we will be talking. Well, you saw Alien Romulus. I didn't see
Yes.
Alien Romulus, but we did both see Blink Twice. So we're making that our feature presentation today,
Yes.
and having some island movie games based on it, which I'm quite excited for. I will ask the question then to start us off. So, Janine.
A couple things are sup with me. So yes, I did see Alien Romulus, a movie in the theaters, and then I also watched a new movie for me at home. I think I've mentioned before that the kill count on the Dead Meat YouTube channel has inspired me throughout this year to watch some new horror that I haven't seen so that I can prepare myself to watch the kill count that's coming out. And the latest one was on the film VHS, and I had not seen
Okay.
that anthology. So it's a big series. There's several films. So they
Yeah.
covered the first one, and I was really kind of interested to watch it because I heard it was good. Particularly like the filmmakers who were involved kind of went on to do like bigger things. Like Ty West is one of the directors of one of the
Okay.
segments. Radio Silence directed a segment, obviously, the new Scream films, Ready or Not.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I thought it was a really good premise. It's kind of like a found footage. So you open with this group of like awful guys who just videotape everything, and they've been hired to like break into this house and steal videotapes for somebody. And as they're kind of looking for the videotape that they're meant to take, each one of the guys just pops in a videotape that they find, watches it, and the story on it is like the segment.
Yeah. Okay. It's a
So
nice little bridge story then. I don't mind.
yes, so I liked kind of how it was all found footage, how, you know, the segments are different tapes that somebody's putting in, and that's how we get the stories of the film, which I think is a really cool way to
Yeah.
do it. So yeah, it all looks found footage. It's nothing's on like actual film. I
Absolutely everything looks like it.
yes. I
Okay.
will
Is it not a
I
bit too much that really? Because I'm somebody that doesn't overly vibe with
same.
found
I am
footage.
the same way. I am the same way, but I think in the context of how they're telling the story, I think it's really clever.
Okay.
Um, and something that Dead Meat did bring up on their actual kill count was the fact that this first film is a little rapey.
Oh
um
dear.
our
Oh
first set
dear.
of guys that we meet who are stealing the tapes like harass women and record them without their knowledge, and in some of the segments we get some very kind of guys you know doing bad things. So it's like cool because I want to see these fools die, but also it's kind of just
Sure.
a little overkill. So they did
May- may-
mention that. They did acknowledge that in the kill count, which I appreciated, which then they got called out on Twitter. Someone was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this woke meat?" Somebody literally called them woke meat, which is just stupid. So, I appreciate them covering it, talking about what they enjoyed about the film, while also just acknowledging that that stuff is in there and it's a little frequent. So,
Yeah. I mean,
other than
that's
that, I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to kind of see the other VHS films in the franchise because I heard the other films are better. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's the best way of talking about it. Surely I do find it hilarious what some people are able to come out with on
right?
random social media platforms. It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
What are
Why are
you
you making
talking
such a big
about?
deal about it? It's just a movie. What is this woke meat? Like
But
stupid.
it does seem like we might be on a bit of a theme on today's
Yeah.
show with
Yes.
the central idea of blink
Yes.
twice, obviously.
Yeah, so we will probably be discussing similar themes later on. But I did also go to the theater and see Alien Romulus. Um,
Yes.
and I saw it in Screen X, so it was like 3 screens, like screens on either
Okay.
side. So very all encompassing, so great for kind of like space movie. Um
Does it actually that sort of stuff? Because I know you have watched a handful of movies on Screen X, and it seems does it actually make the experience better? Is it a beneficial way of watching these kind of otherworldly movies or extreme
yeah.
action
I
movies
mean,
or anything like
I
that?
think it depends on what the movie is, and they strategically use it. So not the whole film isn't on 3 screens. It only kind of expands
No.
to 3 screens when something kind of big is happening or it's wanting to use that space. So
See,
how
it
they
just doesn't work for the nice, standard old Hollywood 4 by 3 or 137/1 format,
yeah,
does it?
I probably wouldn't be watching, like, It's a Wonderful Life in Screen X. But, for this film, I think it worked really good, and it felt like, you're kind of enveloped in the film a little bit more, particularly for some of the more tense scenes or when you're seeing a lot of space or a lot of a ship or, that kind of thing. So, I thought it was really cool to see in Screen X. But yeah, I mean, the story, I absolutely loved the story in the fact that
Okay.
it's like this little heist movie nestled in between the continuity of Alien and Aliens. So, we're
Yeah.
getting so it sets itself up nicely to have these little nods to the other films because it's taking place amongst those events. So we kind of get to see what happened after the Nostromo was destroyed and um Ripley is kind of jettisoned off into space. The alien is also jettisoned off into space. But as Wayland Yutani likes to do, yeah, they mess around with things they aren't supposed to mess around with, and because of elements in that, aliens end up kind of infiltrating this heist that our crew thinks is going to be just an easy kind of peasy thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
No major spoilers going on for this
Yeah,
little
no,
review
I
of,
mean, it's been out for a little
Romulus.
while, but you haven't seen it, so and I don't
No.
know who else has seen it, but so I don't wanna give too many spoilers away, even though it has been out for a little bit, but generally, it's yeah, like this kind of cool space heist movie premise going into this, and then aliens kind of just screw up all of those plans. Um,
As is usual, I think. I mean,
yes.
I just think there's too many Alien movies. I think we need to I don't like this movie sounds like it's a good movie or every
Mhm.
people that I've heard seem to very much enjoy it, even those that have been less than, positive about the more recent Alien movies, Covenant or Prometheus
Prometheus,
or
yeah.
things like that. But we keep returning to Alien when sure, okay, the movies can be good, but it's a very simple idea at the end
Yeah.
of the day, isn't it? It's a very, very simple idea that I think to its detriment is done so differently and equally as good in Aliens that it's resulted in what we've resulted in now,
Yeah.
where I think people like me end up just going, another Alien movie. How can there possibly be another Alien movie.
Yeah, so that's why I like that this one is telling a wholly different story about people who are have nothing to do with wanting to explore or find or, anything to do with any of that. These are just working people trying to find a better life. So this heist plan is going to give them that. But things don't go as they should because of the aliens kind of messing around with all of that. Um,
Yeah,
the android in this is great. I really loved this actor and what he did as this character. I can't remember his name, but he
I
does
can
a
find it.
great job as Andy, our android, and
That's a bit
um,
stupid. I mean, could they not think of a better name?
probably not. And like he has glitches in his programming because he was like a junk kind of android that was found by our lead character's father, and he kind of took him home and fixed him up. And so she kind of sees him as her brother because she grew up with him, and his prime directive is to, take care of her and do what's best for her. So she kind of sees him as her family. And because he has these glitches and things in his programming, it's almost like he's on the spectrum in some way.
Okay.
So it gives him this kind of social, kind of anxious behavior, or even kind of like reverting to childlike kind of behavior. Like he tells
Okay.
these silly kind of dad jokes and things like that. So
David Johnson seems to be the actor's
yes, so
name.
he's great. He's really great as our android in the film. And I think the callbacks are really fun. I don't think they were incredibly egregious. I know there were some line deliveries here and there that people were like, "Oh boy." But for me, I
I can
found them to
only imagine.
yes. But there are definitely a ton of callbacks, but I think they were peppered in purposefully and made sense to the story and were just fun for fans in general. And they do throw some different things in there and show us some different things. So, it feels fresh. So generally I
You know
enjoyed it. But there is one thing that I think most people are complaining about, a character cameo that just mm,
does not work.
no, it does not work.
Ah.
In terms of the purpose of that character, I think it works in the story, but how they chose to make that happen does not is not very
I
well
envision
executed.
some questionable effects work going on.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't
Ah,
look great. So,
I
yeah.
see.
Other than
That's a
that,
shame. Why?
yeah,
Why do things
yeah,
feel the need to do this?
yes,
This is you've just said as well, and this is a term that is becoming more and more annoying to me in terms of major movies. There's good things in there for the fans.
yeah,
Like it's
mhm,
perfectly innocently said by you, perfectly justifiably said.
yeah,
But why is a movie thinking about what's good for the fans? Just make a good movie, but please, for the love of God, make a good movie. Please, for the love of God, make a good movie.
yeah,
Stop trying to go. Oh, we need to put this in because of the fandom of 45 years.
yes, so it
We
felt like
don't need to put that in, though,
yes,
do we?
so it
We
did feel
just need to make a good movie. Like
yes,
stop
I agree with
stop
that.
putting what I have to assume is some character in Alien Romulus saying, "Hmm, I wonder if anybody can hear me scream right now. Am I in space?
Um,
Would anybody be able to hear that? Which would make me vomit profusely in the cinema if I was
yeah,
to watch the movie."
I don't think there's anything that egregious, but there are maybe one line delivery for sure that I think dances that line a little bit. And I think this film does a balance. It's very much okay fan service, but it's also wanting to be a good film. And I think they throw enough different elements in terms of the context of the story, how our characters navigate and deal with the aliens. They're doing smarter things and interesting things and different things than we've seen other characters do in order to survive the situation. Um, So there's a lot of kind of cool new things and different interpretations of things that are familiar. So
Okay.
generally, I think just because it's such a cool kind of story to throw this heist genre in an alien movie to kind of set it apart from the basic alien stories that we get, I really had a lot of fun with Alien Romulus. So
I assume the xenomorphs themselves look good and as appropriate
yes,
as you
so
would want
very
them.
much the same looking because it is kind of I don't know if that's too spoilery to say that it is from the same alien that we saw in Alien, so there's a
Are the very
connection there.
same alien?
Um, yeah, it starts
Mm,
with that one, and yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
because
No,
we
no
found that
eventual death for that particular alien then
well,
after
we've
being
w I think they add to the lore that we found that, even though aliens can get jettisoned into space, they are able to create some type of
well, of
cocoonish
course they are,
protection for
yes, that's
themselves,
right.
and guess who finds this cocoon?
Guess who finds this cocoon?
Our good
Oh, just
friends,
our
Weyland Yutani.
oh, right, I
Yeah.
thought you meant like some sort of
No,
returning
no, no, no,
character.
no. Good old Weyland Yutani finds it
Right,
and
I see. Well,
fucks
yes,
around and
makes
finds
sense.
out, basically, is how the
Yeah,
film starts, yeah.
makes sense, I suppose. Well,
And I'm
that
told
is interesting.
yes, and I'm told that if you, blink and you miss it, you'll see Ripley's ship, her little pod that she's in, like, tiny in the background in the space.
You see,
So
things like that make people very excited and just make me want to throw up. Like, what's it in there for? Oh, we can spend our time spotting
no,
it to distract ourselves from
it's small enough
the
that,
fact
like,
that
if
nothing's
you're
going
not
on in the movie.
I if you're not looking for it, it's not gonna matter to you, but knowing that it's there is kind of cool. So it's not like this distracting thing that you need to look for. I just happen to see videos from people who have pointed it out. So they were actually going into it, maybe
Okay,
looking to make some type of things that you notice that nods to the da 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 da. Like only
yeah.
those people are going to be looking at those things and be distracted by those things.
45 Easter eggs in Alien
Yes,
Romulus for
so unless you
45
work for
years of
new rock
Alien.
stars, you're not gonna notice. You're not
I
gonna be
see,
looking
I
for that.
see.
So
And
there's nothing egregiously distracting.
as I appreciate the work of new rock stars and their dedication to very fine detail of looking at movies, surely to a point, some of those people who do work for new rock stars must just curse themselves that they're now no longer able to just watch a movie.
I mean, I think they can watch it through the first time, and then maybe the second time is where they're actually kind of looking at all the little details. So
You look at what you're supposed to look at in a movie, what draws your eye,
yes,
what draws
I
your
wouldn't
attention,
be
what
surprised if they watch it through once and enjoy it as somebody watching a movie, and then when they actually have to do their job, they watch it again, and that's when they have to annoyingly get out their pad and
okay,
paper and write things down. But
okay.
yes, generally, I think it's really good. I think it's, very close to the first 2 films in terms of if you were to rank them, I think, you know, 2 and 1 are very kind of interchangeable depending on who you talk to. Some people will say
Depending on what your
2 yes,
preferences in a
yes, if you
movie
want more
is.
action, if you want something more quiet, and I think this one comes straight behind those 2. So,
Oh, wow, well, fair enough, okay.
yes.
Not Alien versus Predator then.
I mean, it's fun, but I wouldn't put it up there. I'd actually maybe make Alien vs. Predator 4 because
I like Alien versus
yeah,
Predator,
it's
I
fun.
do.
Yeah.
I really do.
But I think you
Obviously.
should give it a chance if you have the opportunity to watch it. It's not this
Okay.
terrible mess that you think
Okay.
it's going to be because
No, I
you
don't think
sound
it's gonna be a terrible mess. I don't at all think it's gonna be a terrible mess. My issue is a far more general, movie watching issue, in the world that, large franchise movies still exist and seem to be just all about trying to find some sort of unknowable balance between let's do something fresh, let's give reference to the originals, let's do something fresh, and then they melt themselves into this pot of chaos, and they can never get out of it, and it's just this mishmash of nonsense because you don't know what you're getting because the filmmakers are in 84 different minds about what to put in the movie based on what little Roger from down the street may see in the corner of the frame at one point.
Well,
I
I'm saying
don't care what Roger
you
from down the
don't have
street
to.
sees in the
Well, that's
corner
what
of the
I'm
frame.
saying. You don't have to watch it like Roger from down the street watches it. You can go into that movie watching it, not expecting to look for anything. But if something happens to speak to you as, oh, that's a nod, okay. But it's not like you have to go into it planning on making some Easter egg video. So I
Okay.
think if you can trust anybody to tell you to watch something you haven't seen, I think
It's a fair point. Yes, a good point. I just
just saying.
don't like that Roger from the down the street will be the loudest voice you see.
No, he won't. He won't.
He will because he
Well,
will be
you don't
all
have to
over
listen.
social media.
Well, you can block him. I'm pretty
I
sure you
can.
haven't
That is
I'm
true.
pretty sure you haven't seen any Rogers telling you anything about this movie, so I think you're good.
I know I actually haven't.
See, you
I
just wanna be a
assume things.
curmudgeon. Yes.
I assume things. Yes.
Yes.
Alien Romulus. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes.
Let us know what you think about Alien Romulus. I'm sure plenty of people have seen the movie. Anything for my what's up today is really, I suppose, a harkening back to last week when
Yeah.
there was no episode last week, so I did a Morgan's movie collection video of my entire Warner Archive collection, who are a nice
Ooh,
little label. I said as much in that video. I've not got a massive collection of theirs. I only have 6 movies, but their
good start.
UK library is
Limited.
far more limited than their US library.
Oh, I'm
A
sorry.
little bit like Criterion in that way. But I said as much in this video as well. I tend to find them a touch expensive for what they are,
Mm.
but they are a lot of the time the only good Blu-ray you can get, or the only good physical media you can get of any kind of a particular movie.
Okay.
And the movies themselves, you can never fault. They always look great, and
Yeah.
they are, great movies, great interesting movies that you'd want to see, that you are thankful have physical media releases.
Yeah.
There was a good mix of genres in there. Obviously, old Hollywood based, but I am throwing you back to last Monday and
Okay.
the video
Yeah,
I
check
put
that
up
out.
of Morgan's movie collection. It was nice to be back
Yeah,
doing
get
that.
back into that.
Obviously, if
Yeah.
you are watching Monday Madness on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, you can see a lot of my collection behind me. That is what all that craziness is. I think my Warner Archive collection are actually like, you can't see them because
On
they're
another
right
shelf.
behind my back. They're right
Right in the
behind my
middle.
back,
Mm,
right in the middle. So
okay.
you can't see them at all, unfortunately.
Well, you can see
But
them
it's
if
good.
you watch our video. If you watch Morgan's video on our channel. Uh,
Good point.
yeah. So go back,
Good point.
check that out.
Definitely do. Should we get into our Let's Talk today, Jeannine?
Yes.
Which is, as we said before, our full review of Blink Twice. Now, I think this we will say now this will be will this be spoilery? I think it has to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
Yes. This will be spoilery. The movie has been out a couple of weeks as well
Yeah.
at this point. Blink Twice. It was very interesting. Look,
Yeah.
it's exactly the kind of movie I am always massively interested to see. The fact it comes as a directorial debut for an interesting person like Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah. Yeah, and a
Casting
co-written by her as well.
co-written
Yeah,
co-written by her, casting, in the male lead,
her
her
fiancé.
partner,
Yeah,
fiancé, whatever they are,
yeah.
which I find hilarious because Zoe Kravitz must be about 4'11" and Channing Tatum's at
Yeah, the
least
height. Yeah,
6'3",
yeah.
an enormous man. And I find it very, very, very interesting. But what I did love most, I think, about Blink Twice, and I said it in the intro, is the fact that it is so bright, so colourful,
Yeah,
so absolutely
saturated, lush.
lush to look at,
Mhm.
full of colour, while being the most horrifically dark horror
Yes.
movie possible.
Yes. That's what I loved about Strange Darling was this juxtaposition of these bright, poppy, saturated colors, but this dark kind of theming and storytelling. So when I saw it in this film as well, I was really, enjoying that, kind of side by side, melding of darker themes and concepts with something bright, and it plays into the themes of the film, like this facade of what this island is giving you, what these people are giving you,
Yeah,
and kind of being lulled into this state of excess and in being impressed by the lavishness of everything. So
yeah.
everything's bright and beautiful, but the seedy underbelly of it all is dark and disgusting. So
It comes across as a very, very smart commentary to me. I think you could be forgiven for saying it is a little over intense in its messaging and its
yeah,
commentary, a little perhaps obvious, but why shouldn't it be? Because it has an intention, it has a goal going in. And I know we said this is going to be spoilery, but obviously this is the falseness of the super wealthy, powerful people who do utterly deplorable things,
yeah,
but nobody ever speaks about them because either you conveniently forget, like you do in this movie, or no, or everybody's too afraid to speak about them because the power structures of the world will crumble, the status quo will crumble, or
yeah,
anything like that. But it comes across as just a very, very scathing, smart commentary of these, supposedly self-righteous billionaires who are, we're doing great for the world. No, you're not in any way.
yes,
You
and it
are
also
exactly the same as Slater King in this movie. Maybe not quite as, horrifically criminal, but you have the same mentality.
oh
You have the
yes, yeah,
same arrogance. You have the same, let's pretend to be
proclivities,
nice
yes, as long
while
as they
being
forget, yeah, it's all fine.
utterly awful.
Yes, and I think it also speaks to the quick turnaround of cancel culture. Um, all you have to
Yeah,
do is, give this apology and send donate some money somewhere and then all is forgiven. And so it's really a kind of weird balance with that. Like at what point do you take an apology from somebody like this seriously? um
yeah.
how
Never.
much can they apologize and have you feel like they mean it? How much can they apologize and maybe go away for a minute before you forget, which is a big theme of this film, and then it's easy for you to
Yeah.
kind of be back on board with them or um you know believe the apology.
I mean,
So I
there's
like that
one
those themes
rather
come up as well.
yeah, there's one rather significant outburst towards the end of the movie from Channing Tatum, where he's kind of constantly apologizing louder and
Yeah.
louder and louder over
Mhm.
and over again, as though just the nature of all of that you just spoke about is just getting in his own head, because he in this movie is not, he's doing the deplorable things he's doing and organizing the deplorable things he's organizing through his own kind of mental illness, really. It's
Yeah.
not really something I think he actively wants to do. It's something think he feels like he needs to do
Yeah.
to satisfy some sort of urge or some sort of power dynamic in his own
Yeah.
mind, and it's broken down at the end of the movie with him in this mad sort of shouting, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," over and
Yeah,
over and over
and
again.
then he kind of says to the person he's saying it to, like, "See, well, do you forgive me?" No.
Yeah.
So no matter how many times I say it, no matter how passionately or broken I say it, it's gonna, fall on deaf ears. It's not gonna mean
So
anything. So
so
what is the point of meaning
yeah.
it if it's not gonna mean anything to you? How could I possibly make you even believe if it's genuine, you know?
And that is his whole mentality in the movie.
So it's easier just to make you
Forgiveness doesn't
forget.
exist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, forgiveness he says that, like, forgiveness doesn't exist, only forgetting does.
yeah. Which is a fascinating thing, and I think in a
Mhm.
movie that dealt with slightly less awful subject matter that this
Yeah.
movie does, you'd be more understanding of a message like that. Be like
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah, I mean, it is very, very hard to forgive serious things at times, little things, sure, absolutely, but very, very serious things. People say forgive and forget, but does that ever really happen? I think only the best among humanity truly forgives awful, awful things
Yeah, and I
that
think a
that
lot of
happen.
people yeah, and I think a lot of people see it the other way around, like, they are able to, at a certain point of time passing, they say they're able to forgive, but they'll never forget. So the
Yeah,
fact that
well,
this film kind of switches that because I think you hear most people say that, it's easier to forgive than to forget what somebody did to you, but you can kind
yeah,
of give them the grace to forgive them and move forward. So the fact that this film kind of switches that is interesting.
it's a very interesting mentality, but I suppose it's, easy for this movie to do that when it comes with a chemical ability to forget everything entirely.
Yeah. And
Um,
yeah, and what's dark about it is, sure, these women forget. So, I mean, if we're gonna kind of go into spoilers of the story,
yeah,
um, Channing Tatum's character is Slater King, this tech wizard, genius, billionaire, who is kind of just surviving, kind of coming back from a scandal of misconduct. He bought an island and he's just kind of getting back into people kind of bringing him back into the fold, accepting him, forgiving him for his past misdeeds and whatever. So him and a bunch of his friends whisk a bunch of girls off to his private island. And they just spend nights drinking and partying, and they have fancy clothes and bathing suits all matching laid out for them. And they're seemingly having this great time. And Slater is very kind of interested in our lead female character, and she's very
yeah,
enamored with him as well. Um, but then things start getting weird. Her best friend who she's gone to the island with has disappeared. So now she's starting to kind of remember things and figure things out. And as she's starting to kind of get flashes and remembering things, she's realizing that these men are doing things to make them forget that every single night they are
yeah,
tying them up. They're tying all the women up and assaulting them. And there's one
yeah,
man as well, kind of in the victims amongst these ladies as well. Um,
yeah, there is.
yes, they tie them up and they assault them. And okay, if you can make them forget and then they're happy go lucky the next day, they don't care. But in these flashes, we see these women having reactions to what is happening to them. They're crying, they're screaming,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
saying no, and they're still doing it, and they're still okay with doing it. So the fact that they can still go through with doing acts like that when these women are, having these natural pained, negative, adverse reactions to them in the moment, and they can still kind of come back and do that again is just what makes it even darker.
well, it's absolutely terrifying. I don't think this movie ever makes you feel comfortable. I think it always has the edge to it, even at the very,
Mhm.
very beginning. you're wondering, the same as Naomi Ackie, the lead of the movie, that it is a little bit odd, this island. It is a little bit strange. Like, okay, everything seems nice, but surely anybody with 3 brain cells can see past the surface that maybe it's a little bit sinister. Um, some people aren't, in the movie characters, because they're just okay spending their entire time drinking and smoking and doing all sorts of
Yeah.
nonsense hallucinogens and everything like that,
Yeah.
that they're just completely forgetting, or completely, taken away, truly living in the moment. But it takes a particular unique mentality, I think, to be able to truly live in the moment like that.
Yeah.
And we don't see it from our lead female
Yeah.
characters in the movie. Both of them, really, both Naomi Ackie and Alia Shawkat, who I always
Yeah.
like seeing in
Yeah.
movies, I must say. Um, we don't see it from them at all. They quickly become a little bit confused as to what's going on, a little bit uncomfortable, not to the point where they necessarily want to leave until, um, yes, there are twists in the movie, and Alia Shawkat ends up going missing. More becomes remembered,
Yeah.
and you get these flashes of horrific
Of what is
depictions
actually
going on.
happening
You
to
you
them.
get
Yeah.
these, real. It feels like trauma coming back, and it's a
Yeah.
horrible, horrible thing to
Like
to
losing
watch. It's
time. Yeah.
it's a really awful thing to watch repressed memories
Kinda
coming
just
back.
flood back and memories like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a terrifying, terrifying movie at
Yes.
times.
So it is playing into some really interesting themes, so I was kind of sad to discover some things that Zoe Kravitz had said during this press tour. So, I mean,
Mm.
maybe fine to talk about this any other time, but when you're talking about this film and the themes of this film in terms of, abusing women and, making them forget and all of that
Abuses
kind of
of power. Yeah, serious
yes,
abuses of power.
exactly, and the power structure and dynamic between men and women and all of that and taking advantage. The themes of this film, very serious stuff, and then while doing press for this film, she does an interview where she's asked, like, what of her 2 all-time favorite films, and she decides to name 2 Roman Polanski movies. So
It's not a great idea, really,
no,
is it?
so, sure, you can enjoy this man's work. His work was enjoyed before these things were known about him or before, these things came to light of what he had done. He's still going to be seen as a good filmmaker if he's a good filmmaker, but it doesn't mean he's a good human. He's still a deplorable, disgusting
Oh,
human. So the
yeah.
fact that you are celebrating a man who assaulted a child and the themes of
Yes.
your movie is about assault and he's the director also kind of like the power dynamic between not just like a director and an actor, but an adult and a child.
Mm.
Um, and these are the themes that you are depicting in your film, and even kind of depicting the fighting against that dynamic and overcoming that dynamic. Um, to then go on and wax poetic about this man who has done just that feels a little inappropriate. So, like, sure, talk about him any other time, but on the press tour for your movie that has these themes feels kind of weird. On top of the fact that, like, then I just think back to this whole moral high horse she was on with the Oscars Will Smith slap. Yes, slapping this man was not a smart move. You should never put your
No.
hands on anybody. But the fact that she did this series of Instagram posts, "This is the dress I wore to the event where somebody, physically assaulted someone. This is the makeup I had on my face when I went to the event where somebody physically assaulted someone." So she goes on this whole moral high horse about Will Smith slapping somebody, but then she can, hold up this, you know, man who's done these terrible things with adoration. And then, of course,
Yeah.
you know, people bring up her also kind of making some comments about Jaden Smith when he was 14 and how, you know, she was attracted to him and she had to remind herself that he was 14 and yeah,
Maybe she has an odd sort of maybe she has odd feelings towards the Smith family in general.
maybe
Um,
very confused
I
feelings.
don't I don't disagree with what you're saying, and I haven't directly seen this Zoe Kravitz interview. I would be interested and shocked if she's more talking about Polanski the man and not the movies themselves that
Yes,
she
no,
brings
she's
up.
talking about the film, she's talking about how, you know, she enjoys the content in them and this and that. So, I don't think she's talking about or even addressing who he is as a person or what he's done. She's talking about him as a
Yeah.
filmmaker.
See,
But it's
this
just
is and this
interesting to
is I
bring
think
up this particular filmmaker during, the press tour for this specific film with this specific subject matter.
100% it is a little bit odd. It's rather odd, in fact. It's very odd to
Yeah.
bring up that in that context. The fact is, my views on this do not change. Roman
Yeah.
Polanski made some outstanding movies. Roman Polanski is also a despicable person. The
Yes.
two things
2
can
things
be
can
true.
be true.
They are
Yeah.
the truth of the matter.
Yes.
The fact is, Zoe Kravitz clearly agrees with me in the sense of the man made great movies, truly great movies. And when you actually think about it, I'm sure one of those movies she brought up was probably Rosemary's Baby.
It
Look at the
was.
themes
Yeah.
of Rosemary's Baby. Okay, Rosemary's Baby came from a book, sure, but
But very much plays
that
into what's
is
happening in this film that she made, you know?
100%. That
Yeah.
is a cultish group of people, a unassuming woman coming in,
Gaslighting. Yeah.
a heavy gaslighting, heavy manipulation, an unassuming woman coming into that fray
Losing
and
time,
getting
losing memories, not knowing what's
losing
real and
time,
what's fake.
losing
Yeah.
memories, consistently getting more and more paranoid, more and more panicked as the movie goes on to the
Yeah.
point where utter horror,
Yeah.
happens. And so the structure of that, the ideas, the fascination there clearly holds true
Yeah.
in Zoe Kravitz's mind, which is fine. Yes, I agree with you though. It's odd, but the
Yeah.
fascination with that has made her make a good movie here.
Yes. So I mean, I'm not on some moral high horse of my own to say that, oh my gosh, boycott this movie. She's a terrible person for thinking this, whatever. I just found it really odd and interesting that she didn't see any kind of like issue with bringing up this man in terms of the themes of what her movie is. So
Yeah.
yeah, just thought I would bring that up. I mean, it doesn't take away on how I felt about the film. I just learning about that later just seemed a little weird, but hey.
Yeah, and no, you know what as well? It was nice to see in this movie, outside of the context of the story of the movie, that I think again is really well structured, really
Yeah,
well crafted, really well put across, and does everything it intends to do,
yeah.
in very shocking ways, very satisfying ways. Eventually, it does end in that very satisfying revenge
I
kind of
mean,
turn the
yeah,
tables kind of way.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, how did you feel about the ending?
Yeah,
The kind of switch
I
up
will
of what it
say,
does to you. Like, you think, "Okay, she's going to stick with the female ally, and they're going to be the ones to get out of this," only for
yeah.
it to be, "No, it is not that. She's going to use this man and manipulate him the way he manipulated her in order to get herself ahead," which she does give a cue to that's who she is earlier in the film when her
100%.
when her
That's who
best
she is.
friend when her best friend is freaking out and feeling like there's something off with this place and she doesn't know what's going on, and, she tells her, you're gonna ruin this for me. Like, this is the first time in my life I felt special, and you're gonna mess this up for me. This is the life I've wanted, and you're gonna mess it up for me. So the fact that her friend is stressed and concerned and worried, but all she can care about is, don't mess this up for me. That was my cue right there to make that ending make perfect sense.
It does make perfect sense. Look, you can say it's selfish on Naomi Aki's part, sure, but that is her character. She holds true to herself. You can't really fault her for doing what she ends up doing at the
Yeah.
end of this movie. Um, and it is almost humorously satisfying
Yeah.
because Channing Tatum, after doing all the horrendous things he's done many times, clearly,
Yeah.
and what ends up being, again, obviously spoilers, what ends up being 2 separate times to
Yeah.
Naomi Ackie. Naomi Ackie has
Yeah.
been to this island before and completely forgotten about it because of this special little drug perfume
Yeah.
thing that they used there, until those memories obviously come back to her. He's done this countless times. We don't know how many times he's
Yeah.
done this.
A
So,
Polaroid box full of pictures worth of times.
yeah, a ridiculously large box
Box
of
of
Polaroid
Polaroids, yeah.
pictures. Um, but she he's constantly going on about how it's easier to forget and why can't we just forget, he has trauma in his past. If I could just forget that, everything might be okay.
Yeah.
She lets him forget that. She lets him forget that and elevates herself to running his tech empire, which
Y
is fascinating. She turns him through the power of forgetting. She turns him into her toy.
Yes, he's like this kind of blubbering mess, like, he doesn't really she's reduced him to a degree where he's forgetting, how to hold his knife and fork. He's, like, fumbling to hold them to even eat his food, and he doesn't
Yeah,
remember what he's talking about, and he's very confused a lot of the time
it's
that we
it's
see in
it's
this last little segment.
pure it's pure revenge, and it
Yeah,
is very, very satisfying in that way. Okay, if you want to be morally high about it, you could come out with 2 wrongs don't make a right, but it does
yeah,
make sense for this movie to have ended that way, and I can't go away from this movie, thinking and believing that that was the wrong way to end the movie. It felt right after watching the movie at the time, and it feels right now. It feels equally as satisfying now, a good chunk of time after I've seen this movie, that it ends that way. Like I said, it's almost funny to see the devolution of Channing Tatum at the very
Yes.
end of this movie, and especially as well, the panic on Kyle MacLachlan's face, who was
Oh,
nice to see in the
yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
when he realized, because he's been a little bit on the side involved in all this
Oh, yeah,
situation
he
going
he
on
will
the
come
island.
and frequent the island every
Yeah,
once in a while to partake in the chaos of what they do to these
and
women. Um,
the panic-stricken face of him when he realizes they're at this
yeah,
gala event, whatever, at the end of the movie, and he walks up to Channing Tatum. Obviously, he knows Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum has
doesn't
forgotten who he is.
remember
Clearly,
him,
he doesn't
yeah.
really quite remember him, which is very unusual, obviously, for Kyle MacLachlan to
Yeah.
realize. But then seeing Naomi Ackie all donned up and dolled up next to him,
Yeah,
it
most likely the
hits him.
victim of what he would do when he would go there.
Yes, it hits him, and that is it is like, justice. It does feel a bit like that, and I like it for that. And there's a few other people as well in this movie that I was
Oh,
very happy
yeah.
to see. Gina
Yeah.
Davis, Christian Slater
Haley
is
Joel
great.
Osment, yeah,
Haley Joel
Simon Rex,
Osment. I mean,
mhm. Yeah.
okay, some of them are doing awful things, and even Gina Davis is like the unfortunate pawn in their system.
Yeah, I think she's
Um,
his sister.
but it's nice to see them. You don't
Yeah.
see them often in
Yes.
movies anymore. It was very nice.
Yeah.
Christian Slater still looks the same as well,
Yeah,
though,
he still looks really good.
which is, I mean, he's doing creepy things in this movie,
Yeah.
but he was always good at being charismatically creepy anyway.
Yes, and then he's playing into some ridiculous dark comedy by the end as well.
He is. Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, when he's lying on that
Yeah,
couch
after his
all
face has been
mangled.
smashed in, yeah, by a
Yeah,
chessboard.
gory movie.
Yeah,
Um,
brutal.
Great movie. Really
Yeah,
great
like,
movie.
I enjoyed it, like, one side of me would have loved the kind of that perfect girl power kind of ending, but the twist of it was also really interesting, and I think played into the interesting twist that the film was giving us. It keeps you on your toes right till the end, and so I liked that
Yes.
they switched it on us in terms of what we expected this film to be and what we expected this person to be. Um, I think maybe she felt like a different person, this protagonist, this hero character to us because she forgot who she really was because of all of this. And only upon her remembering what happened to her, she's also remembering who she really is and what she really wants,
Yeah.
and that is what leads us to that ending. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Good
enjoyed it a
movie though.
lot. Yeah.
Good movie. Well,
Yeah.
there we go. Blink twice. I've realised I haven't put the little banner thing back up towards the end, and so I apologise for that one. But let's move into some fun and games to end the episode, Janine. And it's a little bit different today.
Yeah.
Because it's a game to an extent that I have for you, but it's something definitely uh, different. Well,
Okay.
what do you have for me? I know obviously you go first in the games, but what do you have for me today?
Well, since this movie is set on an island, I have
Yes.
some films where people get stranded on a desert island, and so you have to tell me by what means they got stranded on their islands.
Okay. Okay. So I have for you. We're going to play Desert Island movies, which
Okay.
comes off the format of Desert Island Discs, which is
Okay.
basically which is a radio program
Okay.
where celebrities and people will come on and explain their three or this is what I'm asking you to do, explain three favorite um music in that case, but movies in this case,
Okay.
um that you would take to a desert island. Now, this doesn't have to be desert island for based movies or anything
Yes.
like that.
Just movies
This
you'd
is
wanna be
just
stuck with for the eternity
forever.
of being trapped on this
Yeah.
island, yeah.
So, three movies you would want to be stuck with. So this is not always your favorite movies. One of my favorite movies, for example, Night of the Hunter. I don't think Night of the Hunter would be a great movie to watch only all the time
Yeah,
when you're stranded on your own. It would be a little bit heavy. It would put you in a bad mood, I
yeah.
think. For a lot of it. Yes, okay, the ending is nice and heartwarming and lovely and all that sort of stuff, but the vast majority of the movie would just leave you feeling miserable.
Yeah, probably.
And being that you're on your own anyway, you need to feel the warmth of other people at the end of Night of the Hunter. So you couldn't when you were on your own on a desert island. So it comes, it's very specific kind of mentality that you need for this. So let's play desert island movies with you,
Okay.
Janine. And I want your three movies that you would take
Um,
to a desert island.
well, this was difficult for me. Well, 2 of them are actually movies that I consider to be in my top 5 all-time favorite movies. And
Okay.
the last one, I kind of have 3 different things picks because for kind of the same reason, but which one would I want for that reason the most? So,
Okay.
yes. So, one of my movies would be Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Okay.
Um, Generally, I think not only is it going to be a good, entertaining movie, but it's also going to give me music to listen to on this island, as this film is full
Ah,
of solid music. Um, if I'm allowed to take my Blu-ray copy, the Blu-ray is probably generally one of my favorite Blu-rays because it is jam-packed with some of the funnest behind the scenes and special features. So I could just enjoy watching those alone without even having the movie. So
I like that.
just
I
for
like that.
entertainment's sake and the features of all the behind the scenes stuff that this movie has, and the movie itself just being bright and colorful and entertaining and having great music and great visuals, and just being fun. I think I would love to kind of revisit this on several occasions,
Okay.
to keep my spirits up.
I will say as well, and we didn't mention this when we were speaking about Blink Twice, but great soundtrack in that movie as
Oh,
well.
yeah, mhm. Yes,
Wonderful soundtrack.
yes. Yeah,
Such a good collection
of
of
music.
dancey
Mhm,
songs. I
yeah.
was vibing to Young Hearts Run Free in the cinema, I must admit.
Yes, very good, yeah,
I was. Much like everybody else was, but then it turned a bit sinister.
we did. It got a little dark.
Not in
My
Scott Pilgrim, it doesn't.
and I'm just now realizing that I guess, I don't know, they're just in my head from Blink
Oh,
Twice, because my second film
why
would
you
be
laughing?
because my second film is Magic Mike XXL.
Of course it is.
That
Magic
film
Mike, specifically Magic Mike
XX,
XXL.
yes, the sequel is the best film in the trilogy. It's everything that the first film should have been. I made probably my most popular TikTok that has over 1,000,000 views was based off of Magic Mike XXL, because I posed the question because of Magic Mike XXL. Well, I don't think it was because of Magic, but that was like another movie in my series of what is a scene from a movie you just can't wait to get to every time you watch it. And in watching Magic Mike XXL, I realized there were several scenes in that movie that I just couldn't wait to get to every time I watched it. It is so much fun. It is thoroughly entertaining. There's a real sense of realism about it as well. I mean, these guys who are kind of they have dreams of things they want to accomplish in their life, but they're also these male entertainers, and they're kind of doing
Yes.
this last ride situation. So it's them kind of validating their male entertaining persona and just doing one last thing together as this crew, going out with a big bang, and then really trying to put their all into their actual endeavors that they want to do. So there's a lot of
Okay.
realness in terms of how these guys are like struggling in their everyday lives, and then the entertainment factor of them really kind of getting ready for this last big show. So
So
just
we've got 2 kind of pure entertainment choices
yes.
here.
So just for the fact that literally this film is filled with scenes that I really get excited to, oh, I love this part. I can't wait to get to this part. Oh my gosh, this part's really funny. Oh, this part's really, nah, you know. So
Ah,
yes. So Channing
okay.
Tatum strikes again.
He
Um
does.
and so then for the last film, I wanted to pick something that really lent itself well to rewatchability. So I was thinking of
Okay.
movies that, have things happening in the background that you could notice every time you watch. So I was thinking of things like The Sixth Sense. So here, Haley Joel Osment back again.
Okay. Yeah.
um, so many fun things to kind of, once you know what happens, you can kind of go back through and see all these little cues and clues and reinterpretations of moments to play into what you know at the end. So I love The Sixth
Okay.
Sense for that. Scream for me is just
Naturally.
yes, but for me, I'm able to kind of watch it and find something new every time I watch it, or really kind of my brain can fill in the gaps of like, oh, in this moment, this must have been when Billy was there or when Stu was over there. And I love working out the plot and just seeing how tight that movie is in terms of the killer's plan and how everything had a purpose and all of that. So I love kind of speculating about things that the movie maybe doesn't directly tell us, but how it plays out so tight in terms of their plan. And I can kind of look at things and notice different things on, okay, they killed this person for this very specific reason. That is so interesting to me. So I love kind of recontextualizing this film I've seen a billion times and always finding a new kind of plot point that kind of fleshes out the story even more for me. And I
Yeah.
do that, I think, every time I watch Scream. So I love that. Um, and then the other one that was kind of looming in my head was Shaun of the Dead, because I
Okay.
love all the kind of little uh background things that Shaun doesn't notice that is alluding to the beginnings of this outbreak. So it's fun to kind of focus on the background and see different things that are building to this outbreak, or seeing characters that you saw, in the grocery store, and then they're now walking around as a zombie,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I love what Edgar Wright does with, you know, building up to little things in the background that you probably wouldn't be paying attention to because you're just watching Sean. But when you kind of go back and watch those things, it all kind of plays really nicely to really build the world and show just how oblivious this character is. So,
Well, I think this comes down to whether your final pick you want a level of consistency in your
yeah.
picks, or whether you want what is ultimately one of your very, very favorite movies and a bit of variety in your movie watching,
Yeah,
because you do already have an Edgar Wright movie there.
I do. And I do have a lot of fun in those first 2 films. So, I think maybe I would go with The Sixth Sense just to kind of break it up.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Good choices.
Yeah.
Very nice. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, The Sixth Sense, and Magic Mike XXL are your desert island movies. Very nice, Janine.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm ready for the game.
Yes. Okay, so we have some movies here, and you're gonna have to tell me how these people ended up on their desert island.
Okay, how
Starting
many do
with
we have?
so, if there are, like, 2 movies that have the same kind of way, I put them together. So I'm gonna say this
Okay,
movie and this movie, how did they end up on their
okay,
island? But I have 4 of these that I'm gonna
okay.
ask you. Okay, so first up, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the
Mm.
Black Pearl. How did
Pirates of the
Elizabeth
Caribbean.
Swann and Jack Sparrow end up stranded on a desert island?
They marooned. They were marooned on the island. They were kicked off the Black Pearl.
Yes, they were forced to walk the
Yes.
plank, and yeah, good job. All right, and then we have Blue Lagoon, the Brooke Shields movie.
Oh God. Um, no idea. Admittedly, how would Brooke Shields end up on a desert island? Shipwreck,
I
ship
mean,
crash, plane crash.
it's more specific than that.
Um, we- I don't
So
know. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I frankly don't know.
there was a fire on board the ship and they had to
A
flee.
fire. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Ship disaster. Same thing.
Yes, but there it was very specific, like, the ship didn't crash. There was a fire, and
No.
they all had to get on the little boats and get off the ship.
No. Okay.
Um, Castaway and Lord of the Flies.
Is oh God, I know this. I do know this. Why don't I know this? That's a plane crash, right? That's a plane
Yes.
crash, yeah.
Yes, yes. And finally, you will like these 2 choices
Oh,
for very specific reasons. Swiss Family Robinson
no,
and
yeah.
Robinson Crusoe.
You know what? For some reason, I don't know how they end up on their respective islands. The Robinsons of the Swiss. and the Robinson of the Crusoe. I have to assume that's a shipwreck.
Yes, but how was the shipwreck caused?
Some sort of war. Is it
No.
some sort of war?
No.
Pirates.
No.
Crashing on a rock.
I mean,
When they're trying storms.
yes.
Heavy storms, yes.
Yes. Got it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes. Yay.
Wasn't gonna be a plane crash for Robinson Crusoe,
No,
was it? It
definitely
was
not.
that's like 250 years before
Before
planes.
any of that. Yeah.
So, very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Desert Island movies, isn't it fun? Good episode of Monday Madness today. We do like to be back with the madness, of course. Nice
Yes.
reviews, nice movies, exciting things. Subscribe to the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, of course, and subscribe and ding your notification bell on the YouTube channel. Morgan Hasn't Seen is, of course, there as well on Wednesdays. It's a Wonderful podcast, the main show on Fridays. Keep an eye out for these new series coming up for September. Isn't it exciting? Michael Douglas on Morgan Hasn't Seen, and Hollywood Romance of 1941 on the main show. Very exciting times there. Let us know what you think about everything we've spoken about today, about the movies, all that. Leave your comments. Whether you are just listening, you can leave comments as well. Or, of course, if you are on YouTube, if you want to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, there are links in the description to do that. Of course, you can answer the questions we put out on about the Morgan Hasn't Seen and main show episodes that you can find on the YouTube channel and, of course, on the social media as well. We read those out kind of every couple of weeks. We update every couple of weeks with that on one of the shows. You can find us on the app formerly known as Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Find me there at the Purple Dome with the 3 instead of the E and the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram and TikTok at the Purple Dawn. All your shipwrecked stuff is where.
You can find me at Jeannine_Bean_ on Twitter, Jeannine Bean on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
I should have said all your island stuff, because technically you are of the islands.
I am of the island people, yes.
Yes. Would you like to do an of the islands accent to close out the show?
No.
Would you like to do an impression of Channing Tatum
in that
to
way.
close out the show?
I mean, how do you do an impression of Channing Tatum?
Exactly.
3, 2, 1.
Well done for sounding like a himbo. Bye. Sorry, Channing. I'm sure you love me.